Hey, welcome to a very special episode of Stand Up, because joining me today, it's the ladies of the Hue. Karen, Kimberly, Vikki, Frances are back. It's Holy Week, so happy Passover, Ramadan, and of course Easter this weekend. We're talking Easter, we're talking woke culture and their reactions to that word being misappropriated. We talked about the controversy in college women's basketball. And as always, we had a lot of laughs, often at each other's expense, which is one of the great parts about our gatherings, our conversations. I like to think that people enjoy listening to these conversations because it's five people who really like and respect each other a lot, who have a lot of charisma, even over Zoom. I do a heavy edit on it so that when we do talk over each other, that doesn't become a problem. And unfortunately, Kimberly's microphone wasn't as great, and I'll make sure that was my fault. She could have easily switched over to a better microphone, and I just didn't tell her. So that was definitely my fault. But she's still amazing as always, brilliant as always, especially on all of the woke stuff, because she, of course, is a city manager in Peoria, Illinois. And so Kimberly, brilliant as always. All four of them really have thoughtful, interesting, unique takes on all of what we discussed on today's show. After we were done, Frances mentioned she thinks they might represent four different decades. One's in their 30s, one's in their 40s, one's in their 50s, and one's in their 60s. And the one in their 50s and 60s are very proud of it. One in their 50s actually had a balloon with the number 50 filled up and took pictures of it and then celebrated it like every day for a month and then posted it all on Instagram. So I'm not worried about anybody's feelings that might be named Karen, because she is super proud and super awesome, as she is on today's conversation. And we had a great time. I love these women, and I have gotten to know them really well and each other well, I think. And we always have a lot of fun. I love this. I love talking to them. I love learning from them. I love hearing their perspective. I love then also playing, at times, authentically ignorant and just saying what I feel and getting it wrong according to them. And at other times, kind of tongue-in-cheek and saying what a lot of other white ignorant people say. And so I traffic in a lot of that, and that's why I think hopefully you like this conversation. All right, I probably over-explained it. I don't think I need to say anything else. I'm just going to hit play and say thank you again to Kimberly, Vikki, Frances, and, of course, Karen Madison. And you can find out all about them each in the show notes on today's show. Follow them on Twitter. And if you come to our Thursday night hangouts, usually most of them, the four women are there most of the time. And it's a real fun time because they're there. That's where we all met and connected for the first time. So sign up now and be a part of our community. Meet these women, meet more people that are all amazing from all different backgrounds, walks of life, ages, cultures, religions. We talk a lot of religion in this because it's the Easter episode. Go to standupwithpete.com right now, patreon.com/Pete Dominic, and sign up and support the show so we can keep doing it. All right. And finally, speaking of that community, the great Gareth Sever wrote yet another theme song inspired by the players, which are the ladies here of the Hue. Ladies and gentlemen, buckets and boards, Gareth Sever, it's time for the ladies of the Hue.
Karen, Vikki, Kimberly, and Frances. It's like a fully melanated real-life version of Sisterhood of Traveling Pantses. But they're wearing their own clothes, and the magic is their own. When they get together, their bond grows, and they know no one is alone. Speaking words of wisdom, bringing the herd to his dome. Everybody sit down, buckle up and take a listen. You can learn more from these women than the endless round of groves of politicians. My best advice to you is to listen, really listen to the ladies of the Hue.
Oh, how about it? Gareth Sever.
I like that last note.
Isn't that wonderful? Thank you, Gareth. And they are here, and we are back. Ladies, thank you very much for joining me late on a school night. Very happy to have you. There's so much to talk about. It's been way too long. Anybody want to say anything about Gareth's song?
Fantastic. Fantastic. And I like that I saw the words to it, so I really know what he's saying.
Yes. So we've got to get the lyrics right, of course.
And give him extra points for rhyming something with Francis.
Yes, hard to do.
Francis Pantses. Isn't my name France Pants?
I get it, but like still.
That's like a go-to.
Yeah.
I've been called France Pants forever.
But kudos to him for not doing any icky, sticky, wiki vickies.
Oh,
See?
right. That's fraud.
I'm glad that we finally have a theme song. It took us like almost a year, right?
Hey, it's got to be inspired. You know, you do a few appearances, and Garrett's a great listener. He's like, you know what? They deserve a song, and this is what I think they do. And well done. Yeah.
Greatly appreciate it.
Yeah. How is everybody doing? Checking in, checking out, what's going on? People have been traveling. People have been challenged. People have overcome challenges. People have won. They have lost. How are we doing, Kimberly? I haven't seen you at a hangout in a long time. How is the city manager doing? Are you all right?
We have an election tomorrow, so 5 at-large members on our city council, 10 plus the mayor will be up. So we'll see how that shakes out. We have 2 open seats, so we know that there will at least be 2 new members. So I'm working on that, getting the orientation stuff ready, and we're doing a strategic plan. So the mayor and I just finalized that work, so that gets started this summer. Economic development, we're trying our hardest. We have some big development happening on the economic development side of things. So a lot going on at work. And personally, it's been a challenging couple of days. March was I call March money madness for me, because I've been doing more work to this little house. But then I had an unfortunate car accident where I got T-boned a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, no.
So I had to, car got totaled, Blueberry got totaled. And so I had to, Saturday, was able to find a car. Just want you to know, it is hard to find a new car in this market. Luckily, bell rang. I was Kimberly elevated. So that meant like not only was I high stress and high strung, I was also adrenaline rushed and shocked. It was like my first accident ever in my life.
Wow.
But everyone is fine. All is well. So very happy. Been doing well in a new relationship. Been pretty good for a few months. Unfortunately, this individual had to go out of town, out of the country for a couple months. So that's been interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, just living life.
Well, there's a lot of follow-ups to that. We can go a lot of different places, but anybody else have any big news before we come back to just interrogate Kimberly about this new relationship for the rest of the hour? Karen, you've been traveling all over the place. Maybe not all over the place, but you've been traveling a little bit. Maybe you have. What is your update? Do you have any roses or thorns?
I am still suffering from jet lag. California for 2 days was a killer for me. You all know I don't sleep well anyway. So I'm struggling to get back to the norm, and then all the basketball games and et cetera, et cetera. So I don't really think I can complain about that though, right?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
And I'm going to defer and let us harass Kimberly about her social life instead of you guys harassing me about mine.
Oh, no, you don't get off that easy.
Oh, yeah. We want to know. We want to get some updates. But let's check in with Francis. Francis, what's going on?
Yikes!
Oh, gosh. Yeah. In my world, it's a bit of the ups and downs. Unfortunately, somebody in my family had an accident like yours, but they did not make it from that. Yeah. And so for the past couple of weeks, it's just been up and down. He was 34 years old. He was just coming home at 1 a.m. in Oklahoma, and somebody just, ran into him, and he ended up losing his life. And so for me, it's just been the situation of just being like really spooked lately, because you're just, somebody is young, they have their whole life ahead of them, and then just out of nowhere, that fire is just, burned out and taken out, and you had no choice over this. And so for me, I was like, I want to do something about this, and I'm not quite sure what avenue to take, because it's, if people aren't paying attention or they're driving recklessly, there has to be a way to get more awareness out there. And I'm not quite sure where to even start trying to be an advocate for making this better, because I just feel like people don't take driving as seriously as they should. You are driving a weapon. And, you know, right now, yes, we're talking about guns and violence like that, but I'm also thinking about just how lackadaisical people can be behind the wheel. And that's just been kind of like this reoccurring focus in my life.
So sorry to hear of your loss, Francis. I don't know what to say, but I appreciate the way that you just described it, and obviously we're all here for you, and that's terrible.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But since I have this platform, I'm like, if anybody out there has any ideas or can send anything in that would give us some sort of like avenue to spread the word, and just, you know, even if it helps one person, that's just one more person that doesn't have to succumb to that.
I don't want you to put any laws on my freedom to drive my car however I want to drive my car, when and wherever I want to drive my car. It used to be the leading cause of death for certain what category was in America was, I think, car accidents or something, and like gun violence has overcome that. And I can't help but think about that. You already mentioned it's like we can actually make new laws to make the roads safer, to make the cars themselves safer. And we can't do that, unfortunately. We at the national level with the guns. It's so frustrating.
Absolutely.
Let's go over to the great Vikki to find out what's going on in your world. Do you have any ups, downs, setbacks, triumphs?
I actually do have a little bit of a setback. We have my husband just put out new chairs on the front porch, and the stray cats from the neighborhood think it's theirs.
Yeah, that does.
Every morning when I'm walking out, they like to scare me, and then they scurry away. It's rough.
You describing that scene basically was a game changer for this conversation and potentially my life. Any way to video that next time, because I see it. And does anybody have any advice for Vikki about how she...
And they're big cats. Let's just say that they are almost lioness size. To me.
I was going to say they're probably like an 8-pounder. Because they live outside. Cats. They're not really full. So they're not the house fat cat.
And Vikki's in our mind, we see an orange tabby. Vikki walks out. She's like, is that a Bengal tiger? Why is it in my front yard?
I'm going to take a picture of this gigantic cat and show you, especially the older one. It's huge. It's this big.
That does sound like a serious setback. We're all so sorry for the adversity that you're having to deal with. You know, you got this new furniture and the cats are right there.
They're enjoying it.
I know what Kimberly would do.
Make a home.
And
is it murder?
I am literally Googling how to...
How to kill a cat?
I'm trying to kill anything.
But does it have does it have cushioning on it?
Yes.
Yeah, that's why. What if you took the cushions off?
Bring cushions inside.
Don't make it comfortable for them.
And all their fur is going to get embedded if they because they're going to sit in the same spot.
Mm-hmm.
They may be scared of cucumbers.
According to the internet.
Me too.
According to me too.
Kimberly's and Vikki's so desperate she's out there throwing slices of cucumber everywhere.
It has to be the whole one.
I heard you don't like these.
Pickles do.
You know, I think they hate.
I only have pickles right now because I can't get to the Publix right now.
You know, Vikki, I think
it's a well-known animal food place, and they say, "Why are cats scared of cucumbers?" It's a thing.
No, seriously, you know what you should do, Vikki? If you don't want those cats out there anymore, just leave tuna, like empty cans of tuna, all out there, and they will not come back.
I feel like you're setting me up for a joke.
True confession, about right when the pandemic started, there was outside my window was this little kitten screaming and crying, and I did set out a can of tuna, and I believe this is that same cat.
Aww.
But it's been a couple years since I fed it, so
I'm just gonna say, cats react because cucumbers look like snakes.
Yeah,
look like what?
Snakes.
Oh,
so try to put out a cucumber and see if that helps. You never know.
if you put some fruit in the tuna, maybe they will leave. I couldn't resist.
Wow, what a callback.
Not resist.
What a callback from episode 1 of The Hue. Well done. Somebody puts fruit in their tuna, and it's Vikki. Speaking of acrimony and divisive issues, the one thing I knew I wanted to talk to you about, because I remember one of my favorite things that we ever did here was the Christmas conversation, and how everybody has their own different experience and thoughts and recipes. And so I loved that conversation. This weekend, it's Easter. Folks here, all of us are tangentially Christian some way, somehow, celebrated it, didn't, still do. What are, let's talk about childhood memories. And obviously, we need to get into the bunny, where the bunny shows up. And if the bunny played a role in your childhood. Do you love this holiday? Do you celebrate this holiday? Do you have any Easter memories?
So for me, because I grew up in the church, Easter is always about, the big thing was the Easter program and the Easter egg hunt. So the Easter program entails either you singing, dancing, or saying a speech. And from 3 on, you are always given to something to do every Easter. And for me, it's very nostalgic in that seeing my great nieces and nephews now being the ones that are doing these things, it's just kind of sweet for me. And then, my pride and joy is doing the Easter egg hunt, which Thursday night I'll be stuffing 250 eggs with candy.
Well, break it all down, I think, with each person's own recollection or what the importance is. But what about you, Karen? Does Easter play an important role in your life now or ever?
Probably more so now than it did as in my childhood. We did not go to church as children, and maybe sometimes with my grandmother, but not all the time. But I do find the Easter service a little extra special. The way they did it at my church, it was, a time for people to get up and offer their testimony. And you would really hear some really inspiring things. And I used to just get up and go to the 6 a.m. service. But I'll be honest, I've still been going to church online since the pandemic. So it makes it a little bit different. And sometimes people will, rally the troops and say, hey, come over for Easter dinner. So it's sporadic. I think I do it a little more spiritually than religiously these days, but I think it's it's probably the most important holiday to me.
Wow.
Period.
All right. We'll come back.
Except for my birthday. No, I'm just kidding.
Except when you're resurrected. Francis?
Throwback to youth, like getting dressed up for Easter was such a big thing, and going shopping and getting that most perfectly perfect dress that you got to wear, and then having the pictures taken outside at the church or on the steps, but just praying that it would be nice out. And what I didn't realize is that April showers bring May flowers thing. When you lived in Philly, you just were like, okay, this is how the weather is. It's like 80% chance that it's going to be raining this year. Always, which I didn't realize until the TV show It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, that it's not actually always sunny in Philadelphia. It's pretty much always cloudy. It's very rare. So you would want to have these beautiful, sunny, beautiful pictures outside, and it's like 20% chance that you got that. So when I did, it's beautiful. I love thinking back to that day and back to that period of my life. But now, yeah, it's a lot different. Like, yeah, church online. Then I was going to one of those like rock star churches when I moved to North Carolina. So it's just a whole different feel these days.
Kimberly, did Easter play a role in your life growing up? Is it now?
So there's 3 phases of Easter in my life. I'm like right now I can visually picture a picture. It's a photograph of me and my cousin. He and I were the same age. He's no longer with us. And he was in his Easter suit, and I was in my Easter dress. And my parents, either one of them at that time, were going to church. So I grew up to a certain age going to church with my aunt, who was AME. So Easter was a very much part of life, and I loved it. My mom would always have the Easter baskets. I loved Easter baskets. Anything that I could get a gift in it was for me. I loved it. However, when I was 11 or 12, I actually converted to Catholicism on my own. And my mom actually followed me a year later and she became Catholic. I was an altar server before I was even Catholic. I was actually an altar server before I became Catholic. And the Easter Vigil was my favorite service of the year. So the Easter Vigil happened the day before Easter. And it was a very lengthy service, which is very not the norm at the church I grew up in. And so they dimmed the lights. It's like telling the whole story of Jesus and to his death, and then of course then to his death, and then Easter Day is about the resurrection. And so it was always so cool because even though it was the lengthiest, because church was like 45 minutes, but it was really cool because I got to interact in that space, being an altar server, but also the telling of the story to me of Jesus Christ and just the whole understanding of how we get to this period of time is, Lent to me has meaning. And there's in the Catholic Church, there's actually like Palm Sunday was last Sunday. And so there's a lot of different meanings. And so I like that ritual, and there's like intentional that the ashes that we use are part of Palm Sunday and Ash Wednesday for the following year. And I really appreciate that. Taking out the politics of religion, I just really found Easter Vigil like the most beautiful part of Catholicism.
How did the Catholics get you at 13? Like, how
at 11, 12, I think it was 12. Well, here's the thing. So
little girl, come here. Come over to our church.
No. I actually went to Catholic school. So my parents always had me in Catholic school. So ever since I was in preschool, I was in Catholic school.
Got it.
However, what got me to transition to be to transition to Catholicism, he's no longer with us, was Father Cook. And Father Cook, he was this larger sized body man, but I would ask him so many questions.
I don't know why Father Cook, the size of the man, mattered to this story at all. She was like, Father Cook.
A larger size body.
She was like, Father Cook, who loved to cook. Why do we need to know?
And I'm Googling Big Father Cook.
Like it's wow. Okay, listen.
Stronger, very, he was just a very large,
big old priest.
A lot of questions. And when I would go to my Sunday school with my aunt, and I asked questions, they pretty much told me to be quiet. Right? They didn't answer the questions. I was always a curious kid. And I just appreciate the fact that I would have questions about religion and why is this conflicting and I don't understand. And he really would he would break it down for me. As a kid, I was just that curious. And I just felt more comfortable in the Catholic Church than I did in the AME Church, just because, I just did. And when I had the choice to choose, I chose a church that was more accepting of me and didn't spend all damn day in church. I knew at 45 minutes later, I was going to be done.
Oh, that was enough.
I went to my aunt's church. Who knows? It may have been like, you got to go back to church. Maybe I just left church. Now you got to go back. I'm like, what? This is a lot. I love Jesus, but I don't need Jesus that long, especially when Jesus for some of these folks, you questioning how they love Jesus, and the day before they were out in the club acting fool. But that's okay. That's them.
Listen, hold on. Let me go back to one issue or element. What role did or does this bunny? There were a couple mentions of Easter egg hunt as being a fun thing to do, and Vikki's going to apparently give a whole bunch of. What are you going to put in those eggs? Like, how do we get
candy? No, I made the mistake of doing money, and the older kids kind of overran the little kids when they knew there was money in there. So we've never done money again.
Did they push the little kids?
They ran past them. So, little kids are sweetly walking by, and most of them are not even seeing eggs that are in plain sight. And so bigger kids were running around and grabbing the ones that they knew had money in them.
You should have done what Karen did last year with the kids that she was working with, Bitcoin in the eggs. Is that right?
Yes. Yes. I gave my mass fortune that
They just opened it. They're like, Aunt Karen, there's nothing in my egg. She's like, nope, there's Bitcoin in there. But I don't see it. It's in there.
Right. It's there. It's there. Look harder. Look harder.
Well, did you guys sit? I went to the mall like Santa, and I sat on a bunny's lap, and I told that bunny what I wanted for Easter. No, everybody, Francis and Vikki are shaking their head no. Nobody sat on a bunny's lap at the mall.
No.
I think
that was money too. Didn't it cost money?
You may need to rethink what actually happened.
Wait.
You think he was just sitting on some dude's lap that was wearing a bunny outfit?
Do we need a therapist to join in?
What bunny's lap do you sit on?
They're at the mall, even when...
Mike is standing. You standing next to the bunny. Like, you don't sit on lap.
I have seen where the kids are on the bunny lap.
Well, we question why they on bunny's lap. Bunnies don't.
I question why they're taking a picture with the Easter bunny anyway, but it happened.
That is true.
What do we have any thoughts on this bunny coming into the picture? Even doesn't it seem like I don't know where it comes from, and I'm not sure that I care, but to me, it made me get pretty into Easter because this bunny'd be coming around bringing toys and candy.
I just think it's weird that you were asking the Easter bunny for stuff.
I don't think it's weird at all.
Or was it
yeah.
just taking pictures with it?
No, I asked the bunny.
It's funny for anything.
I think it's a little modern.
Well, what does the bunny say back?
The bunny never talked. You just took a picture with it.
So you just, that's what I would think is just taking pictures.
I might be making this up, but I'm pretty sure the bunny was like, "Go find my eggs." I was like, "You're a bunny. You don't even lay. Like, where did the eggs?"
Since she was the bunny. The bunny was always there for photo ops.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nah.
Yeah. We didn't do that.
No, that's
wow.
It.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't even do like dyeing eggs, painting eggs. Didn't get to really do that much. Only unless I decided to do it.
I love dyeing eggs. You get all the egg dye on your hands because nobody really taught you how to dye eggs, right? You get the multicolor and you get the eggs because you got the vinegar in it and you got the egg dye color and you just like, oh man.
Yeah.
I love this boiled egg, dog.
By the way, the price of eggs, have you noticed that, everybody?
Don't even get me started.
That's why we're stuffing eggs.
Eggs, you gotta be special to get a real egg.
No, you're not. Nobody's getting. I don't even think we're having deviled eggs. We usually have deviled eggs.
Same. And it's a holiday too.
Dinner. Yeah,
it's a holiday.
Damn. You could like crack the egg. You be like, why is there confetti?
What now? Well, let's talk about the meal.
It's too expensive. I'm sorry.
Are there the 2 eggs? Who can afford 2 eggs? You got to have 2 jobs. Are there any traditional recipes, ladies, that you look forward to, that you're excited about, that you'll be engaging in this year? Is there an Easter dinner?
Yes, but I'm tired of being judged by Karen.
Go ahead.
I'm not. I mean, I can't help that one. I mean, fruit and tuna. That's different.
Okay, what about apple salad?
No.
What?
Mm-mm.
What is apple
shredded
salad?
apple?
What is apple salad?
It's apple, cream cheese.
Nah.
Well, let me finish.
Please.
Let me finish. Walnuts and cherries.
You can't even say I'm
maraschino cherries. It is delicious. And pineapple.
Vikki did not say that with a straight face.
What kind of apples? Red and green?
Does that change?
No, just red.
No, just red. Ain't no
you
green
just
apple.
need a sweet apple.
Hey.
Or Fiji. I actually,
fish.
but I actually like Fiji in mine.
This almost sounds like ambrosia.
That sounds like a Washington State food menus.
I'm from Texas.
I'm not saying I would order it at a restaurant, but I might be convinced to try it because it's
cream cheese.
But
cream cheese is good, though.
I wouldn't have known that there was cream.
Ambrosia is good.
Right. So it probably looks like
They're
ambrosia.
cousins.
No, but ambrosia don't have cream cheese in it.
Do you just scoop it up and eat it? Do you put it on something?
No, you just eat it. It's like a really cool, sweet, not too sweet, semi-healthy dessert.
Oh my God.
Is the cream cheese whipped?
Yes.
Why can't y'all just make some damn sweet potato pies, shit like that?
Because that
We
doesn't-
do that too.
Yeah, we do things.
Dang. Pecan
What about
pie?
We
ham?
do different things.
Ham?
Ham for sure on Easter.
Ham, definitely.
Ham
Okay,
goes hard.
everybody seems to agree on a ham. Is anybody anti-ham for the Easter, Vikki? Vikki, now you probably make a ham, but you also introduce peanut butter, I would imagine, or
No, but I still put the pineapple slices with the clove on my ham.
okay, I'm all right with that.
Okay. I mean,
Okay, why the face?
No, 'cause-
WTF.
No, just I haven't seen a clove.
Yeah, what is a clove?
A clove impaled pineapple in a minute.
Ham.
People smoke. They smoke cloves, right?
Nah. What
Yes.
you doing?
Yes,
Clove what?
clove
what?
cigarettes.
Cloves, yeah.
Oh, I don't smoke, so I don't know.
Okay,
No,
you guys
I
are
mean,
digressing.
It's a
You
thing.
like the pineapple?
It's a thing. You might not do it, but it's a thing.
And I don't know. I don't know what they look like in
Apparently,
nature.
and cream cheese together. But here's the thing: I do enjoy though a ham with some pineapple.
Okay, everybody seems to be in agreement. Even I'll deal with that. But
What about lamb?
What do you mean deal with it?
That's expensive. That's some
It
rich
is
folks
crazy.
shit.
Who cooked it? Who cooked the lamb?
I've never gotten to have it, but I feel like it's an Easter thing, right?
Because it's a thing. For
Lamb
some
of God.
Yeah, I
Lamb.
mean,
Lamb of God.
look,
Yeah.
people. Sheep.
I'm down. I'm down for a nice little small
Lambs.
lamb chop. So it's
Wait.
not too excessive.
Lamb of God, rack of lamb.
For Easter.
So
Obviously.
pork chops.
I'm with you, Francis.
Yeah.
You don't get
But
some
somebody
pork
has to
chops.
make it.
That's
I don't know how to make it
Yeah.
myself.
I don't know how to do it.
I've
Yeah.
never made the connection, but I'm loving where your head is.
See?
Never make the connection.
Mhm.
Never make the connection.
For sure.
all right. Well, let me shift to wait.
Oh, hell, you need a
Some
shit.
ham, lambs, and
You got
cream
what you
cheese.
Ham.
You always got to bring back the food when it comes to us, Pete. I feel like you be setting us up.
Ham, lambs, and cream cheese is the name of today's episode of The Hue, for sure. What about, does it mean anything else, Easter to you? I don't want to make fun of Jesus in front of you or like the resurrection itself. I'm not going to make my jokes. I think you can, whatever makes you happy. What does it mean? Does it mean anything to you, the Easter? Do you shift anything?
Can I just say this? So, growing up in a Catholic church that was predominantly white, the one thing I would say that I missed was harmony in the songs. I mean, I don't know. I don't think people understand that was the one thing I missed, was that there was not a church song that didn't get you up on your feet and got you in the Holy Spirit. But when you go to the Catholic church that was predominantly white, it was hard. It's like I lost a little piece of my, like.
Well, you did. I am having a really hard time biting my tongue ever since you said you left the black church and went to the Catholic church. I wanted to
This is Chicago. There are black Catholic churches here.
I don't believe. I don't believe in the Blathlicks.
Well, first of all, you need to come to Chicago. There are such things as black churches.
Yeah, that's hard.
Just didn't go to one.
No.
But
Hell no.
You said blacklist. Blacklist. Well, I can't even
Black. Blathlicks. Yeah.
Blacklick. I'm loving where
It's
this
like
is
Santa
heading.
Claus.
I'm loving where this is heading.
The thing about the Catholic Church that's the easiest criticism is, in terms of the service, is that it is really boring and scary and like so. A funeral or even a wedding mass, any mass is terrifying and boring. And then
So
you go
cute.
to a black funeral or even other, even a Jewish, there's more fun. There's more fun to be had. There's celebration, the music. It's just, I can't believe you would leave that behind.
What Catholic church you've been a part of, but I didn't go to a Catholic church that made me feel worse. I'm just saying it had harmony, but it was a fun church. And I did a lot of funerals. In fact, I now question why I did most of the funerals and not the weddings, but I think you know why. But I would just say that I never found it to be doomsday. I actually thought, at least the church I went to was topical. It talked about social justice issues, even when that was the thing back in the 90s. And, it was a diverse church, even though it was predominantly white. It was a diversity of folks there. And I thought the priests at the time, at least, they weren't pedophiles. So they were actually really, they weren't. There was no investigation. There was after I left, but that church was not doing it.
There it is. There it is. Listen,
Kim, you served it to him on a platter.
All I'm saying.
Hot take, though. It's a hot take.
All I'm saying.
Lord.
Sorry, I'm done.
What's next?
The Catholic Church made me feel bad about being white the way learning history makes me feel bad about being white. That's what's next. Why are we teaching history to the whites is what I want to know. It's making us feel very badly.
I don't.
The question we've talked about it. We've talked about it before, but wokeness continues to be a word that we're hearing as a pejorative. And I wonder if anybody has any updated thoughts or opinions about what we're hearing from Republican leaders, especially like Ron DeSantis. It seems to be kind of a mainstream thing. Chris Sununu said it this weekend. He's supposed to be the, quote, moderate. He's not. Governor of New Hampshire. And this anti-wokeness and all of what we're seeing, they've banned more books that didn't seem controversial, but apparently everything is. So, Francis, where are we in America with all of this and what you're hearing and seeing and thinking and feeling about wokeness and banned books and all this rhetoric?
I'm tapped out.
Yeah.
I'm so sick and tired of hearing about it.
Mm-hmm.
For somebody close to me, my mom, she works down in Houston as a teacher. She's at HISD, which that school is actually being taken over by the state. So knowing that Texas likes to compete with Florida for being the worst in their governing styles and all those book bannings, I'm like, that is about to definitely happen to her down there. Where
what did she teach again? She's still teaching, right?
Yes. Now she's teaching special needs. It's more of life skills courses for her students there in 7th grade. And so it's really good for her to have gotten out of the other classrooms. Now she's in with special needs kids. And that's really helpful because you're helping people live their life day to day. So it's a lot better as far as that environment for her. But I mean, you just can't help but be afraid because what they'll do is probably come in, slash and burn everything, get rid of the teachers that are there, have them have to compete to come back in and then turn everything into charter schools, which is putting money into the pockets of, the folks that are their friends and government as opposed to really trying to help the situation. So that's going to be very interesting. Something to keep your eyes on.
Helping special needs kids sounds pretty woke.
I mean, I think the lady is, yeah.
That's what's next. What is with the special needs kids? I mean, it really is. I appreciate the very first thing you said. I'm tapped out. I think that's pretty fair. Anybody else on this issue that we keep having to hear about? That seems to be like the campaign platform. Like we don't talk about taxes as much anymore. We don't talk about even energy or foreign policy. It's like it seems to be the campaign platform to be running against the woke mob, the wokeness.
Well, I think that's the one thing that's sticking.
Yeah.
That they've tried some of everything over the past 3 years or 3 years or so. And the woke and the trans stuff feels like there's enough people saying, yeah, I don't want people woke in my district. Or, yeah, I don't want trans people competing in same-sex sports. I mean, it's just the same rehashing of Willie Horton of whatever it is that's going to scare white people.
It's the focus. You're saying these are the topics that have focus group that have been the most effective.
Exactly.
I think that's a great point. You're absolutely right. Yeah, it's working. At least the trans and the wokeness has been very effective. They don't want, when you said they don't want wokeness, a lot of people say they hear that black or pro-black. That's what they hear. Kimberly, what are you hearing? Does this come up in your job at all?
Oh God, does it?
Does it really?
Not well. We have one council member who's up for tomorrow. He's probably gonna get reelected. But I knew this was going to happen 2 years ago when we started to see the conversation around George Floyd, and I was very one of those people that was I was not about the whole equity statement. I felt equity statements to me was a cover. And what we are seeing is just like what they did with Obama, the night of his election, and while he's out there celebrating, they were in the back room talking about how we're going to make sure he isn't successful. While we were out there protesting and talking about George Floyd and all these folks, all these corporations were doing we stand for Black lives. We are going to put these equity officers in. Guess what's happening? Dumb people are getting laid off. Those diversity folks, those DEI folks that they so badly, we're going to bring in diversity. We're going to make this a priority. They're the first getting cut off. You have communities now in Michigan, Ottawa County, keep naming them, that had really been the leaders of trying to do this work, who had elections, and the first thing they did was dismantle those departments and got rid of their equity officers and so forth that was supporting the local government entities who did not have the means to do it themselves. I saw this coming. You know why? Because it's history repeating itself over and over and over again. And we know what happens. It's a slow burn for these folks. It's a slow burn for racism. It's a slow burn for misogynism. It's a slow burn. And we sometimes are so quick to be like, we got this win so we can take the foot off the pedal. And that's what happened with George Floyd. I feel like there was some great progress that was made, but then we took our foot off. And we started focusing on other BS, not really, and they were already like watching it. They were slow burning it. So they got their guy in to be they got the win. When they got the win with Ginsburg dying and he was able to put the justice in, all bets was off. Every social issue that they were going to go for, they were like, you know what? We've got the court. Yeah. So we can push this to the depth and you can sue us and we're going to go to the court and they're going to support us. Yeah. Look at look at what the court legislative calendar looks like. It's all social justice issues. So it's the slow burn. And we get caught up in the moment in our feelings and we don't have alliances. The gay community, and and this is true, like talking to my colleagues, my friends, it's like you get to the point where gay marriage is now the law of the land, but they forgot about their trans brothers and sisters. And look at what's happening. So we all gotta wake up and realize we gotta figure this out. Our coalition is the Rainbow Coalition. And sometimes that Rainbow Coalition ain't always got shit together. Yeah. And it's hard. It's hard to have a Rainbow Coalition. It's hard. Intersectionality is hard. You have a lot of different interests and people. It's difficult. I will just say that. It can be difficult. Competing, sometimes overlapping interests for attention, for resources. Karen, what would you add, if anything, to what we've heard so far about this issue and where we're at?
I just hate how they co-opted the word, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It worked for a while, right? Yes. I mean, it had power and they've co-opted it. And like you said, it's code for black or blackness. And, Kimberly's right. I mean, we had momentum. I would also say that the white people got sick of hearing it. So, I mean, they kind of put the kibosh because we never were able to gather enough power in that window to really be able to make permanent changes. And in some places you see some, but it's still not enough, right? Because now you hear people saying that, as a white man, I can't get promoted in this job, which is a whole lie. So it's frustrating. It's frustrating. How do we get it back? I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever. Everything that just came together at that unfortunate, disgusting murder of George Floyd. I mean, we were all sitting at home watching TV. I mean, if that happened today, I don't know if it would generate the same power behind it.
Did anybody, that's everybody's commentary there. I have nothing to add. I really appreciate all your thoughts, and I appreciate the exasperation. I think that's probably the most important kind of reaction to this. I missed the word. I thought it was a great word.
I had a sweatshirt that I had to throw away because I was like, I can't wear this anymore.
I'm not giving up the word. I'm not giving up the word. I think it's that if you're not woke, you're asleep. And I'm gonna stand on that hill till somebody knocks me off of it.
I like that. Wait, because people will yell, "Wake up! Wake up! Stop with the apathy. Pay attention." You're absolutely right. The opposite of woke is to be asleep, to not be paying attention. I love that. Stay woke, be woke. Thank you for sharing that in the chat, Kim. All right. She acted like it was like a group of like 100 people, and she's like added something. And like she couldn't just say that. Like,
so what's going on with this affirmative action?
Yeah, that's gone.
Yes.
So with that being gone, how's that going to change?
I think what's important, my understanding, correct me if anybody knows, but my understanding is what the Supreme Court is looking at as affirmative action as it relates to college admission specifically. So I think in the workplace, different states with different laws, but the case before the Supreme Court is, they're going to scrap the idea of race-conscious admissions in higher education. And what that means, if you talk to apparently anybody in education, is that they're going to have to, I think it's said like, be more creative as to find ways to make sure that their student body is as diverse as they want it to be, as they think it needs to be. And by the way, probably not even necessarily for noble reasons, right? Probably just because they want to have a brochure, right, with people that look a lot of different ways, because that's good for college, I think, generally speaking. Maybe not, some schools, maybe not. But I think that, it's going to be really, really problematic for colleges and for student bodies. How do they find ways to make sure that their incoming school is as diversified as it can be when people don't have similar opportunities in education? So you would end up being just admitting to all the kids that live in wealthy areas that have the best access to even public education, much less private education. So,
yeah, I don't want to relitigate this, but every time we talk about these things, it breaks my heart because 2016 meant so much. I mean, it was a catalyst, and we are paying the cost for apathy and informed. And
you mean 2016 meant so much because Trump got elected and he appointed these Supreme Court justices. I feel like that's what you're specifically referring to.
It was that, and it was just also the wave that happened with the Republican Party. I mean, it's so much more than Trump, but he is the pinnacle of it. And I just think, like, what if we did elect Hillary? Would we even be having these conversations? And I know we can't go back. It's what we have. It's the present, and we have to think about the future. But it does give me a little sadness at times.
Oh yeah, I was just talking to, I think I talked to somebody about this. I just heard the tape or read about Donald Trump 2 weeks before that the Access Hollywood tape came out.
You just heard about that with Billy Bush?
I just. Did you guys hear? But no, I think often about the fact that people voted for a man who'd been accused by over a dozen women, and then we heard him on that tape. And, it's easy to focus on race or gender or sexism, but like, I never got past that. I never got over that. That's why I can't look people in the eye. It's not it's the idea that he said that and people heard him say that. And then they cast a vote for him to be the lead role model of Americans. And then it's just like, that's who we are. There's no doubt we are. A huge percentage of us is you can grab them and they don't care because
baby boomers still exist and misogyny is real and baby boomers, which is his demographic.
Yeah, but misogyny is not. Baby boomers don't have the market cornered on misogyny. I mean, that's.
No, but I mean, at the time, they were still the largest generation voting.
Voting, yeah.
But I don't think that I know that the misogyny played a part, but the smear campaign of Hillary Clinton that was relentless from when her husband was president it just was an ongoing slog of all of this negative information about her over and over and over and over again. Plus, when you think about the backlash of actually having Barack Obama in office.
Yeah.
So that it was like this just cataclysm of all of these things. I don't know if that was the right word, but there was like this convergence. I paid attention. I just don't have my credits, but there was a convergence.
You can do it. It could be a big group project, Vic.
It was a convergence of all of these awful things going on at the same time that everything everywhere all at once. That's what it was.
All the time.
Well done.
We paying for Obama being elected.
Damn right.
I don't know exactly.
Anyway, can we talk about something more positive? I'm sorry.
Yes, let's talk about violence. So,
all right. So what I think about violence is
it's a beautiful thing when it's dealing with certain people. No, but
this is what we'll end on. Everybody gets to make a suggestion for what they're reading, watching, or listening.
Whoa! May I interject? We did not talk about the women's basketball game last night, which is for the ages.
I only didn't because I felt like at least half of us weren't really paying any attention at all. By that I mean Kimberly. The women's. By the way, the women's college basketball final took place over the weekend. It was the most watched college basketball game, men or women, in years. It was the final. It was LSU versus Iowa, and there were Iowa University or Iowa State? Iowa University, right? Well, you know, why don't you wait till you jam a muffin into your face and then speak? Because that'll be great for listeners.
That was fantastic radio.
There were undertones or overtones of race here. So it's become very controversial because LSU is kind of more black players. Iowa's like more white players. And then
Iowa.
Well, yeah, but Obama won there. And so I always like to remind. So the Iowa player is like the best player, one of the best players, and was pretty flamboyant. The white girl, Caitlin Clark. And then the black girls won. And there was like this kind of criticism of some of the behaviors that started with the white girls, apparently. But a lot of people didn't know that. And so they got outraged. What are your thoughts? I haven't paid that close attention, but I do feel like there's racial issues here with this. I want it to be a success for women, for women's sports, for women's basketball. I think that's probably the most important thing is that so many people watched it, but I feel like a lot of people came away with the wrong conclusions. And that's all I have to say about it. Karen, your thoughts? You've been paying attention, Francis, Karen?
Yes, I have been paying attention.
Did I do a decent? Is that even what you're talking about? Did I do any kind of?
It was fine until you mentioned Karen, Francis, Vikki, and you didn't mention Kimberly.
Well, you don't know you don't know the game.
Karen, go ahead.
But what was her motion that she did was she put her hand up in front of her face and did the John Cena "You can't see me." So I don't even understand how people saw what she did in the first place.
No, so what?
She's invisible, clearly.
Yeah. But I mean, here's the thing. It was some smack talking, right? Just like Pete said. And will I say this? Angel Reese was a little more flamboyant with it, a little more in your face.
The black girl.
But at the end of the day, like, are we judging sins differently, right? So all of a sudden it's like, oh, because Caitlin Clark was walking away from the bench when she did the you can't see me. But I mean, it's all part of the game. It's all part of the game. But I will say this. I loved Angel Reese in that press conference, how she said she wants to be able to be herself and not be judged. That the media has judged her for being too ghetto, too demonstrative when there's not that same criticism leveled against other people. And that she did it for the people that look like her that don't get to be themselves. I thought that was the message. That's what I'm taking away from it. I
appreciate that.
Awesome. I think she is awesome. There's so many other
22, 23.
She might be younger because she's a sophomore.
This is college.
She's only a sophomore, so she might be 19 or 20. So
yeah,
I know she's young.
Yeah.
My point.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kimberly, for chatting on me.
And it's just so shitty.
For the
like,
chat, Kim.
It's like Keith Olbermann called her, went on a screed like he always, and I get it, but he's got a following. So it just like fed into it.
What I'm talking about, Twitter is nothing but full of rejected journalists. Journalists has taken over Twitter. That's social media. And that social media is what everyone is following. It's journalists following each other. And it's just to a point where, why can't they be like men? If the men's basketball teams had that same interaction with each other, no one would have said anything about
they
either
do.
part.
They do every game, every day. I think that you point to a gender issue as well. When women do it, it's a little bit. And by the way, I don't think it's all social media. I think that if someone says something on a sports show and then that gets shared on social media, like there's a whole media complex. I think it's fair to say that we all watch this game, whatever game it is or event, and we all have an opinion and we all can share that opinion. And some of our opinions are really bad.
And also, like, just to add a little something, Kim, these kids have these name, image, and licensing agreements.
Yeah.
So their social media presence is a requirement for how they're getting some payment.
College athletes are getting paid now, right?
It is a different set of scenarios.
That, but it's social. But
I know, but I was just adding that to it. I was just adding some context.
Because if you go on Reddit had a whole different vibe to it than Twitter did. And Reddit was just like, that was fire. That was what we want to see. We are excited about it. And then you go on Twitter where all the white old men who go to be on social media lie. That's so unpolite. They're women. They need
TikTok loves her. Like, you're right. Twitter sucks. We know Twitter sucks. Elon Musk sucks. Yes. We get that part. But all of it, their presence is a requirement now, which I think makes it a little bit more different, which puts it a bit more in the spotlight than say when I played, which was 40 years ago.
I'm saying when we talk about social media in this spec, here's what I'm trying to get to. When I realized it was an issue was because Twitter's made it an issue. When I was looking at TikTok and Reddit, it was like they were excited about the interaction and they saw it as a great game. And I'm just saying, who's the one communicating on Twitter? Bunch of old white journalists.
How dare you? But let me ask you one.
There is Black Twitter, though.
The more important question to me, and because I have you guys here, is basketball is a sport. I'll say it's dominated by Black folks, men and women. But women's basketball is the most popular women's sport, I think, team sport. And it's dominated pretty much by Black women at the college and pro level. Now, there's a lot of great white players, but I wonder if the year of Brittany Griner being the most famous person, people everybody having a stupid opinion on her, and the rise of women's college basketball, and therefore the rise of Black women in the spotlight, what if anything, that creates? Obviously, opportunity for Black women to get success and get paid as college. But I wonder if there's something just there, and that there's always there. And I don't mean to pick a a fight or create a problem. But I do feel like that's something that when you think of basketball, much less women's basketball, you think of black women. You think of black women doing really well, overwhelmingly, in most teams and the best places. Thoughts?
I just see this as
I do.
Yeah, like
it's a rise. It's a rise in popularity. You know, there's more focus on it. I mean, Brittany Griner, unfortunately, with what happened to her, brought some more attention to the sport. But I think it's just they're putting more money, and even soccer helps, you know, women's sports in general become more popular because the women's team is so good, and on an international stage, they're bringing attention to it. And there's encouragement for people to play sports, right? For young girls to get into sports. It's a thing. It's a thing now. And it's, it was great. And they ball, you know what I mean? Like they were balling. It was a great, those games on Friday, this game on Sunday, they scored 102 points. That doesn't happen.
The thing about, here's the thing. This is the obvious thing. Okay. Let me just narrow it down. This is Michelle Obama was at that game, right? So the problem is black people are so animated and flamboyant in their celebrations in sports and even in middle school graduations.
Passionate.
And we are uncomfortable. Like, calm down. Like, just would you calm down?
Passionate for you is aggressive for others. If we're too big in a room, choke on it. Like, could you where all of our kids graduated? It's so ridiculous that we have to make ourselves small because y'all are uncomfortable because, this little white girl got some smack talk in her face. She started that shit. Yeah. She started that shit. And if they were balling out in the playground, she would have got popped in her mouth.
Julia scored 3 goals in one game. I didn't make a peep.
That's on you.
Well, you did go onto Twitter. You went onto Facebook. You said it on your podcast that everybody listens to.
2 days.
2 days. And you're saying it again now to us.
So, when I was speaking about Twitter, I was really talking about Pete. That's why he got his feelings about it.
But it wasn't really like high energy and, loud.
No,
I wasn't.
First of all, that's some very stereotypical shit that you're talking about. And second of all, here's another thing.
You went to your...
We are going to a ball to celebrate. You know why we celebrate? Because y'all mofos always try to put us in our place. And this is the first time where we can be like, no, Mo, we are going to ground up. Because you know what? I'm celebrating that win. Because there is so many things that I have to deal with on a day-to-day basis that I got to mute myself. I got to check my own self because I don't want to deal with y'all little happy feelings about yourself and your own thoughts. They're not my thoughts.
Wow, that rant would have been so much better if you didn't have a Fisher-Price microphone on that computer.
Lord.
Because I heard
to go to bed because it is my bedtime.
It is preposterous. Yeah, like we always have to make ourselves small. We can't even teach you guys. We can't even teach you our history, Pete, because you're going to be uncomfortable. Like, good Lord.
Please, I don't need to feel any worse about my whiteness. One of the great things, if you can get over your discomfort with the black folks celebrating, and if you're okay with it, then you get to this point through the looking glass where you are completely entertained by the black family cheering for their 8th grade kid's graduation, and you watch the white people be so uncomfortable with their cheering, and that is worth it. That's worth it right there. And to me, that's what all of this is. It's just like it's a whole experiment and a social experiment. You can literally look and watch the white people. And I'm going back to the church conversation. The church, whatever it is, it's this discomfort around joy because it's not how I express myself. And maybe it's because I'm afraid to express myself. There's a lack of fear and there's this exuberance, this real moment of joy, which I think is one of the greatest things, if I can, about kind of black culture and black joy, where I wish white people would be like, maybe you should loosen up and cheer a little bit more about golf or whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
They are though. I mean, I'm beginning to see more and more white folks get buck wild because they realize that 18-year-old shouldn't have graduated either. but they made it across the stage. So I think there are some woke white folks, and I think there's more woke white folks that want to actually acknowledge. And there's this politeness that we've all had to adapt. But at the end of the day, let's talk about the win. The win is that we had a great basketball game, and women basketball was able to really elevate and actually entertain and do what men's basketball has not been able to do.
Well, how dare you?
And secondly, I think another thing I would just say, and I will be quiet, is that we are in such a transitional time in our country right now. And I don't know where we're going as a whole, as a country. And I just think that where we can find wins, we should celebrate and come together, because we have so much division going on here right now from state to state. People leaving Illinois and going to Atlanta, Georgia, Texas. And I'm like, why? Because Illinois is awesome.
I don't know what the hell you're talking about now, but you had me at counting our wins, and I think that's a really
I just need to drop Illinois at least once.
Important point. She's like, I think we just need to count our wins. People leaving Illinois, going to Texas, like what? But anyway,
this is still a moment though to mention the microaggressions, and they almost seem macro. I mean, it's very blatant, it's very in your face, but this is a good time to still point out the fact that you are saying these things or calling her out. And it's obvious because she's a Black woman. And the same thing happened with Brittany Griner, because the way people spoke about it, well, she should have known better.
Yeah. Right.
But you're not going to say that, because I'm sure this kind of, how many people are traveling with THC cartridges?
Well, that was always a stupid thing, simply because the only reason Brittany Griner was in Russia was to make a little extra scratch playing basketball, because it's so much harder to make that kind of money as a woman, female athlete. So you go to these other countries, and in that case, that's just that's not happening for men, elite men, because they don't need to leave their league to play year round. I mean, that's.
But when you hear, you just hear people say this, and they're talking about somebody, and I'm like, I know you've probably done countless illegal things within this past week.
Yes.
You should know better. But yet, in this case, you can say that about her with such confidence and with your bravado.
Yes. I completely agree with you. And that's the case, I think, with what we saw over the weekend as well. What about that LSU coach's attitude in her jacket and everything? How do we feel about her flamboyance?
Her jacket's a lot.
Her
jacket's a lot, but you know what? You can't really talk about her. She's won at 2 schools. She's won 4 national championships. Right. So she can kind of tell us to all F off if you don't like her outfit.
Can I just say, at the end of the day, as a performer, as an entertainer, if you put a whole arena and a whole network of millions of people watching me, I'm performing. I'm performing. If I score, I'm doing a dance. What am I here for? It's entertainment. So I love when athletes do stuff that's entertaining. Now, is that appropriate for junior high? Maybe not.
Yeah, I just think that Francis made a great point about the microaggressions. We are cognizant. We are cognizant of every room that we walk into, be it boardroom, conference room, friggin' the grocery store. We are very cognizant about how the world may perceive us. And so I can't even imagine, I know I'm referencing my 900-year-old former career. I was lucky enough to play in college, right? That's not many people get to play sports in college. I know the gift that was, the blessing that is what it was. But to win a national championship, I might have acted a complete
of course you would have. Who wouldn't?
And it's not even to say it's not even acting a fool. It's emotion. It's all that work. It's everything that you have done. That girl, Alexis Morris, who was on Kim Mulkey's team in Baylor, got kicked off the team, went to 2 other schools in the meantime, came back to Mulkey and said, "Can I play for you?" And had, admitted to her child, her immature transgressions. and she won. That girl, Jasmine Crawford, she had scored 2.2 points average in the whole 5 games up ahead. And she scored 21 points with banging it off the glass. 3-pointers raining from the heavens. Like, this story is so good. And they are trying to muddy this bullshit with this story. And my last part of my rant is, as much as I like Jill Biden as the first lady, how dare she talk about inviting both LSU and Iowa to the White House to celebrate? That is absolute nonsense. There are no participation trophies. They did not win. They do not get to go. They by no means should get to go there on the same day as those girls. They shouldn't get to
do
go.
that with the guys. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Yeah, this isn't the time to try and be open-minded, open your arms and everything. Yeah, no. That's too woke.
Nah.
Relax.
No.
Angel Reese laughed at Joe Biden's desire to invite Iowa to the White House.
No.
Serve them some some fast food. They don't get to come into the White House, but you can have, there's a nice little food truck outside for you, ladies.
But they don't get to go. Wait, if it was the first lady that invited them, then they should go to the first lady's office.
They shouldn't get to go at all.
She has an office.
But here's the thing. Can I just...
Yes.
I think
The whole East Wing.
when it comes to college, I think you're right. If you're going to do this for all college sports, then do it for all college sports. Don't just do it for the women. I think as a college sports, having both teams go to the White House is different than having a professional sports team. But if you're going to do it for everybody.
But don't start now.
Right. I mean, do it for everybody.
Yeah.
Don't do it for one team because of this.
Yeah,
exactly.
Exactly. Don't start now is the best point. Like
Not today.
Bad timing. All right, ladies, I'll let you all go. I cannot thank you enough for joining me. It's always a pleasure, no matter where we go. Closing words? Any closing statements from anyone?
So, Pete, are you going to go to the mall and sit on a bunny's lap?
Lord have mercy.
My big takeaway from this enlightening discussion is that was not a thing for anybody else, and now I feel so alone.
You're seen, my friend.
Oh, Vikki.
Anyone else? Parting words?
I see you in a different light, though.
If I see a grown bunny, I will sit in his lap.
Grown bunny.
I don't have bail money for that. I'll get you off for a weed charge, but I'm gonna let you sit in the hopper if you're sitting on some man's lap.
How do you know it's a man? Vikki, Karen, Kimberly, and Francis, the Hugh, ladies and gentlemen, another successful chapter. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, Pete, for inviting me.
All right. Thank you, Kimberly, and to the rest of the ladies, of course. That was awesome. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you listened to the whole thing and you want to hear more, I'd love to hear from you. What do you like? What kind of programming should I do here? Who should I be talking to? What other groups of folks can we get together? Looking to get together like a men's group. I've mentioned that a few times, but always open to your ideas and how we do that, what we talk about, the formats, all of it. It's our show. You can help produce it. So email me, standupwithpete@gmail.com, and subscribe now. Go to patreon.com/Pete Dominic. I hope you have a great weekend. If you're listening to this on Friday, if you're listening to it at any other time at all, have a great day. Have a great life. Find the joy and let me know how you did it, because I'm always gathering intel. You guys are the greatest. Thank you very much to the ladies, the Hugh. Go please follow them and learn more about them. In the show notes, you can find out more about them. And thank you very much again to Garrett Sever for the song. And we'll go out with that to celebrate the ladies one more time. Garrett Sever, Buckets and Boards, take it away. Encore.
Karen, Vikki, Kimberly, and Francis, like a fully melanated real-life version of Sisterhood of Traveling Pantses. But they're wearing their own clothes, and the magic is their own. When they get together, their bond grows, and they know no one is alone. Speaking words of wisdom, bringing the herd to his dumb. Everybody sit down, buckle up and take a listen. You can learn more from these women than the endless round of droves of politicians. My best advice to you is to listen, really listen to the ladies of the Hue.
last note